What was your sort of working relationship with, like working with Alan Arkin and James Caan? Certainly at that time, both well, those guys just in general have reputations for being sort of volatile personalities and are pretty fierce presences can be on set. You know, what was it like to work with those guys, and how readily did they adapt to sort of that you know, at least somewhat chaotic environment?
You must have heard something, because that's a very painful question. It's the only relationship I've ever had with actors that hasn't been totally a pleasure in every sense. I admire them both very much, and they were at the beginning a little bit wary of each other. There was a title dispute at the beginning, who's first on the credits, which the studio was about to give up on the picture. When I said it's easy, you put one higher last and one lower first. They're both getting choice positions. That was okay, and that solved the problem. But I figured that they had to be turned, for the picture to work, they had to be turned into a single two-headed, four-armed, four-legged creature. And nothing brings people together like a common enemy. I misfired because I didn't intend to become the common enemy, but that is the way it turned out. If I had to tell you how and why, I couldn't. But it turns out I had been warned that Alan was a director killer. That he had done it on his previous picture, which was 21 Catch 20.
Catch 22.
Catch 22. One number short. Anyway, I did become a target, and it didn't affect performance. Their performances were brilliant, wonderful. The interaction between them, I think the conflict made it more amusing for them. And I actually found myself sometimes interrupting scenes with my own laughter because they were being so good. But it was a nightmare. And afterwards, Alan saw the picture and loved it, and so did Jimmy. And we all buried our hatchets. So it was worth the pain. But as you said, asking about the style of the picture, when we wanted a car going off a freeway, we took into the third story of an apartment building. We took a car off the freeway into the third story, and that's how we got our results. And so it was an interesting, difficult, and very amusing picture to shoot.
That movie also seems to come at a time in the 70s when filmmakers were, I don't know if they were necessarily defying genres, or maybe they were in the process of defining them, but if you look at this movie, you look at something like Every Which Way but Loose. I mean, these are films that ostensibly are comedies, and then they end up sort of shooting into a different kind of direction. You look at like the Super Cops. Like those are all movies that start out as comedies, and then they end up on this really serious kind of note. Were you thinking at all at the time about the idea of sort of merging these different kinds of tones, or how carefully, I guess, in comparison to the way today is, where everything's so carefully plotted so that it's like, well, the comedy needs to be even and the drama needs to be even and all this other stuff. Were you thinking about sort of the balance of all those different kinds of elements?
Well, I was very much so. Not as an innovation, because that is my style. I walk a tightrope between comedy and drama, which is an interesting tightrope since they fight each other. The drama hurts the comedy hurts the drama. But if you get them to work together, it's always much more brilliant. And It's the style I like, the style I work best in. And I knew that's what I would be doing here. I didn't know that it would start a new genre, which is the buddy cop picture. It spawned a lot of franchises like Lethal Weapons, 48 Hours, Beverly Hills Cops, and...
The Last Boy Scout.
Right.
Very much so. I mean, it ends with the Super Bowl.
Right. And the real subplot of the picture for me, which was the personal reason I can make myself do it, there has to be, I feel we're obligated to say something, otherwise we're talking about nothing in the movie. We're obviously to say something that we think is significant. Somebody has temporarily handed us a platform, so we better use it. That isn't necessarily a truth, it's just my own impression, and therefore affects what I do. We were watching the Vietnam War on television every night. Napalm in the jungle, village people being slaughtered, our own boys being slaughtered. And it was immunizing us, changing our views on violence. And I thought it would be very interesting to hold up a kind of funhouse mirror to the audience so they could get a glimpse of their own views on violence. And so, for example, I'd be doing a Tom and Jerry style of comedy and a car chase where cars go through buildings, you know, they have mass collisions, and the audience is laughing hysterically over it and enjoying it. And suddenly the car swerves onto a street where there's a marching band of young high school students. And they start plowing through the high school students. And the audience goes, whoa, you know, suddenly stops laughing and checks themselves very seriously. And then I snap back into the Tom and Jerry, and they're laughing again and have gone back. And they've gotten a view of violence and their own reactions to it. They were caught short all of a sudden when they had to face what was really happening. And then you turn it off or let the screws up and they can enjoy it again. I thought that was kind of a valuable piece of experimentation, if nothing else, but sort of the statement of the film, unspoken.
Well, at what point do you know that something like that is, I guess, constructed in the right way? Because to be able to throw in that moment where the audience is confronted by their own enjoyment of this violence or action,
Right.
you know, it takes some pretty careful modulation in order not to sort of send the scene so far off into seriousness that no longer, when they go back to the Tom and Jerry stuff, that it's not, you know, beyond their ability to sort of go back and enjoy it.
Well, the answer to that question is, I think successful directors have to have an absolutely unrealistic view of their own, or confidence in their own viewpoints. They're somehow doggedly sure that what they think will work, or they certainly wouldn't risk millions of dollars of other people's money on it, you know. I think it takes a lot of guts to spend that kind of money on nothing more substantial than an idea, because the print of the picture is worth under $1,000, and you've spent a lot of money achieving it. It's all what you put on the film. So it's kind of a giddy, questionable self-confidence that's nice. But along the way, there's a lot more at different levels of that kind of thing. There's a girl crying her eyes out, just incidentally. You know, her life has come to an end. She's sobbing. And Freebie says, hey, hold it down, will you? Can't you see the guy's trying to make a phone call? It's that kind, and the audience laughs hysterically at that, but says, oh my God, that's terrible at the same time. So that's viewing the absurdity of our own views in a different manner. And the picture's full of that. Being a challenge, Freebie saying, God, I can't hit nothing today. Well, don't feel too bad. You hit a nurse. They're those kind of guys.
Mm.